Thanks so much for joining us on this session of the Van Life Summit. Today, we are speaking with Gabe and Rocio with our mixed journey on how to get started living van life as beginners. We all were there at one time or another, so it's good to go over the basics. So thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you for having us here.
Yes, thank you, thank you.
Yeah, so first of all, tell us a little bit about your journey. When did you start living in a van?
We did, well, first we started actually RV life. We were living in Puerto Rico, and Puerto Rico got hit by Hurricane Maria. We were tired of dealing with hurricanes, so we did what any normal person would do. We sold everything and bought a fifth wheel and a big truck and moved within about a month. We did that for about a year and a half full time. And then during the pandemic and early height of it in 2020, we were sitting stationary because we couldn't really do anything. And she looks at me, she goes, "Hey, what do you think about getting a van?" I'm like, "What?" We're literally sitting in an RV. And of course, it didn't take much to convince me. And we started looking into it, and kind of rest is history, I guess.
So yeah, with the pandemic, it was supposed to be more like weekend trips since we have the big fifth wheel. But as soon as we did the very first road trip to go get the van, that was it. We fell in love. Like, this is it. We're moving.
Yeah.
That's amazing because I feel like a lot of people have, a hard time going from a bigger rig into a smaller rig. But why did you suddenly love the van so much when you first saw it?
So the main attraction was that during the pandemic, a lot of campgrounds and state parks were closed, and our rig was too big to just go and boondock. So for us to be able to travel, and then the style of travel had changed too. So we were going at a faster pace, and with the big rig, it's kind of impossible to go at a fast pace.
Yeah.
With a van, you can pretty much pick up and go and be in a different location every day.
Flexibility is the word.
Yeah, yeah, that's huge. And so you guys went with a Class B RV. If you can tell us a little bit about that and what led you to that particular model.
So, for those that don't know, Class B is essentially a pre-made by a company, van build, and we looked into slightly kind of doing it ourselves, but really decided, you know what, we don't have the time or the space or materials, considering we were living in a fifth wheel at the time without the space. And so we started looking into the RV life and really found out that, we know the RV life for what it is essentially, and then found that they had the Class B vans, which are turnkey, ready to go. And what was really appealing about it was the fact that it didn't have nearly as much upfront cost as it would be to buy a van and build it out. Uh, and we were able to get, a loan and do it normal payment style through the RV dealership and with a bank and everything. And it also came with warranty on the vehicle itself and the
Chassis.
construction and chassis stuff. So that everything kind of clicked and made sense for us.
Yeah, that seems almost easier because we're doing a DIY van, right now. And of course, financing that kind of thing is harder. Finding insurance for that is harder. Where, the Class B is already an RV. So it's all those components fall into place, I think, a little easier.
Yeah.
Yeah, the insurance thing is actually a big one too, because it is RV. You just go, like, we have Progressive and they have the RV insurance, and that was another thing that we found out was just kind of plug and play, super easy.
Yeah, that's amazing. And what kind of components are inside your RV to make it really comfortable?
So that was a major thing also, that the van that we actually liked, or we ended up with, came pretty much ready to go. So it had already solar installed, generator, which we didn't want to be opening holes in, in the van. We were really scared of doing anything like that. So the fact that was already set up, that was a big plus. And so we also are not that much into we didn't have to have a custom. A lot of people want the design to be in certain way that like more like them, but for us, something standard was fine too.
Yeah, and it really, like you said, came with everything. Full bathroom was another one that
Oh, that was a huge one.
with hot water and air conditioning and stuff. So it has everything. It's essentially, it has everything that the fifth wheel had, just way smaller package.
And the bike rack, it came with the
And
bike rack
that's
too,
right.
awning.
Cool,
Yeah.
so much. Yeah. So what were some of the adjustments you guys had to make as brand new, van lifers in this smaller rig than a fifth wheel? What was that like at first for you guys?
It wasn't as difficult as, I'll put it to you like this. Had we gone straight from our apartment to the van, we probably would be divorced. But the fact that we went from van to fifth wheel, and then it was kind of like a progression, we learned a lot of the RV lifestyle and the maintenance and stuff that goes with it. And then it was just a matter of downsizing and getting used to a smaller space, at least for me.
Yeah, and we were already kind of used to living tiny, so leaving things behind wasn't that much of a worry. Also, we set out we still had the big RV in California. So we just put whatever we needed and set up the van for like an adventure for 3 months. It was supposed to be for 3 months. So when we left, we still had a lot of things that were just back in the RV, in the fifth wheel.
Yeah. We ended up flying back. We did it for what, like a month? And we decided, yeah,
Yep.
we we were in the middle of our 3-month trip, and we said, you know what? I think we're gonna do this. So we flew back across the country, sold the fifth wheel, everything, and then like again, fire sale giveaway stuff
In a
within-
matter of a week.
in a week.
Wow. So you really got into the van thing. You really liked it.
Yes.
Yeah, I loved it.
Very cool. And what about some people have written me emails and they're like, well, how do I like dump a tank in an RV? Like, how did you guys do? What was that like for the first time? Was it scary, or what tips do you have for people on that?
It's not as scary
That's
as
his area of expertise.
yeah, the fun job. It's not as scary. I can understand kind of the trepidation at the beginning, and the biggest tips that I can give are have latex gloves, make sure the valves are closed before you open the and take off like
The cap.
off of the tank. And what we did is they have like a 2 or 3 inch clear extension for that cap and for the between the pipe and the cap. And that's a good one that we use, or I use, I guess. Because it lets you know if for some reason, you're going off road like we like to do, and you hit a big bump or something, and you don't realize maybe that your black tank kicked open, like you hit the rod on it and it opened up. If you go to do your thing, while you may be a seasoned veteran, and everybody has had at least some kind of accident if you've been in this game, it's not fun. But with that clear little piece, you can see what's going on, and like, okay, everything should be good, no big deal. And then it's just a matter of connecting the hoses. And what I usually do, and most people do, is some people do a little bit of gray and then black and then gray again to kind of wash the tanks. I just do black first, make sure that gray is always the last one that you do, so it kind of does as best of a job as possible for cleaning out the tanks.
Yeah, interesting. And one thing that's cool about your guys' rig as opposed to many vans is it actually has a real black tank, right? Like a real flush
Yes.
toilet.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
That seems
It's
like
definitely a plus.
Yeah, we have not, or I have not done the like the cassettes toilets and stuff, so I can't really I've seen it being done, and I know people that have done it, but I personally can't kind of attest to that.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
black tank itself is pretty easy though.
It seems easier than having to carry a loaded cassette into a public bathroom to me. I haven't done either one,
Yeah.
but it seems easier.
Yes, I agree. I agree. I'm clumsy, so I don't want to know what that would be like. I have a bad feeling about that if I had to do it.
Very true.
One thing we did consider at some point, getting a compostable, what is it?
Composting
toilet.
Mhm.
However, the way that the van is set up and how the black tank is, it wasn't going to be an easy job, so we just decided to leave it like that. And it was only for the purpose to extend the gray tank to go for longer periods of time. But we're pretty good. So
It
we
works.
haven't need, yeah.
Yeah, one of the things is you learn your rig and what your kind of range is for when you're going and you're boondocking and stuff like that. After you go out once or twice, you know, okay, how much water I can use, how much bathroom space essentially there is in the tank.
Mhm.
And you kind of know that, okay, 3 or 4 days of this type and etc.
Totally. So you just get used to that over time and you get to know what your lengths are with with your water supply and stuff.
Yeah.
Yes.
Cool. And so you guys started going boondocking for the first time in this van, right? You hadn't boondocked in the past.
Very limited experience with the big RV because we didn't have solar and we had the refrigerator was a domestic, like one from the for a house. So it drained a lot of power and the batteries we had were AGM. So it didn't last not even 8 hours and we would be
Yeah.
without power. So we tried it like twice.
The thing about van life is it is so much more economical as far as battery life and the ability to get up and go as needed. So yeah, well, like you said, while we did do, you know, a handful of times the boondocking, nowhere near as easy. And now where we were 90+% RV campgrounds before, now it's the other way around. Now it's like 90 something percent
Boondocking.
boondocking. And most of the time when we go to a campground, it's basically like, oh, it's a place to dump and you
A
know,
long shower.
yeah, you know, along the way, which is another thing you'll learn with apps and stuff along the way where you can dump and find places to fill up and stuff like that as well.
Yeah, very true. We also use campgrounds in the same way, just to have a 10-minute shower if we want that.
Yes.
Yes.
So a lot of people are also afraid of boondocking for the first time. They write me emails about that. And what was that like for you guys? And what are some tips for brand new boondockers out there?
I think the main thing is to be prepared before going. So have all your groceries, for example, before you go, the amount of water you're gonna need if you want to stay for like 10 days. I mean, in a van probably would be more like 3 to 5.
Yeah.
So have enough supplies and know your rig. So one of the first experiences we had, the van was way too low to the ground, and we went Piney Lake.
Yeah.
We went through a road that was pretty much for off-roading, but we saw that there was a spot for boondocking, so we just went for it. But oh boy, I was just like this the entire time. Everything was shaking. I'm like, this is gonna break apart. So it was very painful. I would not do that again.
Yeah.
So you gotta know your rig and where you're going first. Know your limitations before you venture to something like that.
Yeah, we did a couple of upgrades. One of the ones that we did was we put a lift on the van after it was almost immediately, I think,
Right after that, and the
that,
tires.
and the
Yeah,
tires
and
and
the
stuff.
tires.
But you do learn the limits of what you're comfortable with because you can push your rig sometimes past really what the limits may be. I don't necessarily
I don't recommend it.
recommend it, especially if you're full timing. That's your home. Anytime you have to fix things or do things, it's a lot more hectic. But yeah, that was an interesting trip, Piney Lake.
Yeah, and probably a lot of people think boondocking means you're going down really rough roads, but there's plenty of smooth dirt roads, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
What I would suggest for people that have never really done boondocking is kind of what we refer to as boondocking light. Maybe go to a state park or a national park or something of that nature where there are people and some amenities around, and then just they usually don't have hookups, or sometimes they do, but you can go to one of those places where you feel like you're in nature. You don't have to have the hookups, and do a couple of trial runs, and then maybe do, like you said, find one that is like a nice little gravel road, and then work yourself up to a crazy Piney Lake down the side of a rocking mountain before you go full blown into it.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Try stuff that's not quite as challenging with off-road skills, huh?
Yes.
Very true. So did you guys do any other types of upgrades to your rig, like extra solar or anything like that?
We added solar. We have now 2 additional panels on the roof. we were doing pretty good with the one that it came with. However, we needed more storage. So for storage, we put an overhead, what is the name for
One of
that
those
thing?
cargo box
Cargo
deals on
box,
top.
but it was on top of the solar panel. So half
Yeah.
of the solar panel we lost because of that. So we added 2 slim panels just to compensate.
And it's made a big difference. We went from AGM to lithium
Lithium.
batteries. We did the lift. We added
Off-road
an
tires.
off-road tires and then a spare tire on the back.
Yeah, those are all
And then
really
other little things on knickknacks and stuff on the inside, but those were the big
Those
ones.
are the major ones, yeah.
cool. And have you guys also done like city boondocking, like at Walmarts and truck stops and stuff?
We have
Oh,
done tour the Walmart.
yeah, we have been to Walmarts all over the country. Cracker Barrel and
Yeah.
Cabela's is a little bit more upscale for those that want to do the mooch docking or overnight stays. But yeah, we've done all of those places
Yeah.
all over the country.
Cool. And has all that been pretty seamless and gone well?
Thank God, yes. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm gonna knock because we still haven't got the knock in almost 2 years
Van life.
van life, and we have not gotten the knock. So
We do. We try to go to places using apps like iOverlander and Road Trippers and stuff like that. That it says that it's boondocking friendly. Sometimes it has no information, but yeah, luckily no.
and usually if it is like a Walmart, we generally see if there's other rigs around or if there is trucks also parked. So we try to like park on that area. And if they don't have any, because some Walmarts don't allow overnight, we call just to make sure that the managers said it's okay.
Yeah.
Yep, that's a good tip. I've done that before too, and I've been told nope.
Yeah.
Like,
So have we.
yes.
So have we.
So that's good to call, and then you know that you can sleep soundly and not be worried about getting a knock. I think it's good for people.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. So in the beginning, what are some other like challenges you think someone might have as a new van lifer? Or what did you guys experience? Or some of your challenges at first?
I mean, because we did the transition from RV life, we already had a lot of the basics down. But yeah, I mean, it is the not knowing what your levels are, how much water to use, how to conserve on water, emptying the black tank, filling up the tanks, those kind of things, and then parking. With a van, it's a lot easier. Learning how to drive and park with a fifth wheel, let me tell you, when the longest thing you ever towed was a hot dog cart, it's a big difference. But the van itself, it was a pretty easy transition, I would say.
Yeah. Same.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you mentioned water conservation tips is a good one because I know every time I get in a house like this and I start house sitting, I'm like just using hordes of hot water. And I'm like, I could never do this in a van. And I think that's a hard transition for people, the water thing. So what tips do you guys have for like water conservation in a van?
So we have a lot of wipes, every single type of wipe. We have cleaning wipes for the counters and things like that. Baby wipes in case that we run out of water or just to like wash your hands real quick.
They even have the big wipes
We have the big wipes for showers too.
that are like the camping shower
Yeah.
wipes.
Like that's if we really want to extend where we're going, just having them just in case is really good. Let's see. Always like we do all the dishes, like all of the soapy stuff first, all at once, and then rinse slowly. But as you're rinsing one, it's dripping to everything else to kind of like help with, conserving some water.
Just turn off the water. If you don't need it, the whole doing dishes or anything where you just let it run, if you're not actively using or consuming the water, turn it off. That's the best tip we can give.
For cleaning the dishes first and like the pots, paper towel first to get everything out before you actually do the dishes. Let's see. A good shower head if you have a shower in your van.
Yeah.
Um,
Those what is it? I forget what it is. It's the adjustable. I forget the aerated. Oxygenics type is good because it uses some kind of like oxygen and pressure to make the water feel a little harder and like more's coming out, but you're conserving on the water.
It makes it more like a mist instead of being like a jet.
Right.
So you use less water that way.
Oh, that's interesting. I haven't heard of that yet. And then do you like shut it off and on during the shower as well?
Yes. So in the handle, it has a thing to turn it off and on.
Yeah. Rinse, lather all the way up and down, and then rinse again.
Totally. Yep. All these are techniques that people have to get used to when they're doing that transition, I think.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, what about some other questions I get, or is van life a lonely experience? What is your experience with that been?
No.
If you want it to be, it depends what you want to make it. If you want to be isolated and not talk to anybody, you can definitely do that. But the van life community has been amazing. Like wherever we go, you automatically have a friend. You have something in common. You just wave at each other, hey,
Yeah.
down the road.
It is not like, for us, it hasn't been lonely at all. We've met so many people via online or in person. As soon as you pull up next to somebody, you've got a van, I've got a van, we're friends now. It's
Yep,
automatic.
it's
kind of
automatic.
deal. And you can definitely, like she said, it's what you make it, really.
Cool. And have you guys had the experience where you meet someone like through social media, like Instagram, and then you meet up with them in person? Have you done that?
Yes, plenty of times, and has been actually a blessing because then you get to exchange experiences, and it's not only you put a face like the real person instead of just being someone you're typing to online. And usually in those cases, you can exchange not only knowledge on like the lifestyle, but places that probably they've been to and you haven't, or the other
Yeah.
way around.
Mm, very true. And how do you guys decide where to go? I know one struggle we face in the van is just where are we going to go today and what are we going to explore? Where are we going to park? Like those decisions sometimes become endless. And how do you guys deal with that and handle that?
Planning is not our forte. We're more of a do as we say, not as we do, because we do try to tell people, especially newer couples that are getting into it, try to plan an itinerary kind of deal so that, but once you feel comfortable and you know your rig, we're just like, yeah, we're gonna go over here and a squirrel, and then we just kind of veer off and do something else.
Yeah.
So planning is tough. The one thing I would say is we plan like the big stops. So if we're going on a road trip that's like 1,000 miles and we want to see 2 or 3 national parks for sure, that's the stop. And then from there, we just kind of
Wing it.
meander and wing it.
We wing it,
Along
everything
the
in
way.
between.
Totally. And do you monitor like the weather, or are there any other factors that influence where you go?
Yes.
Yes, that's something that has to be. We have made the mistake also to forget to
Yeah.
check the weather, and it didn't work out for us. Like, for example, we went to Arkansas,
Ooh,
the
yeah.
national park, and it's like,
Sorry.
oh, it's on the way. We're just gonna, detour here just because we're gonna go check out this national park. But we didn't check the weather, and then in the middle of the night, there were sirens going off,
Yeah.
and it was tornado warning.
Whoa.
And we were like, what do we do? Like, we didn't have any idea. And that's something that it was our mistake. We usually do that kind of research, but that time we were just like, oh, let's go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. People from the West Coast like me, I would never even think to check for a tornado. Like, I don't even know what
Right.
that is. So,
That's one thing that we do suggest is we have a couple of apps that are like radar apps and weather apps that will notify you if something like that is going on in your area, because you're on wheels. Your home is on wheels. If you get a notice like that and you can go, which is what we did, it was like 1 in the morning or something. We had to look up at the last second, like, where do we go?
Where's the shelter? The nearest shelter.
And we ended up like, we found the shelter. It was a few blocks away, and we didn't get very much sleep that night, but we felt better being there, I guess.
Yeah.
oh, interesting. Was there actually a tornado shelter you could go to?
It was one of those like a school made out of like concrete or something like that. Was a designated one
Yeah.
in the area.
So we just
Oh.
parked in front of it. We didn't have to actually spend the night in there, but we were just, hyper aware of what was going on, just in
makes
case we had to go inside.
Oh,
Yeah, it's
cool.
usually a library or a school or something like that, convention center, something that's a big structure, usually made out of concrete and stuff like that.
Oh, that's interesting. I never thought of that. Cool. So, what about like cooking and dealing with food in the van? Was that challenging to cook in such a small space? What was that like for you guys?
And not at all, actually. I know that a lot of people don't like cooking inside the vans. We've met a couple of van lifers that are just cook outside. But for us, well, we have the vent right on top of um the stove. So the max air fan just pulls everything out. So that's not a problem with like smelts or anything like that. And with two burners has been more than enough. Like we don't do crazy meals, I guess.
I mean, we've made
That's
everything.
plenty.
We've made everything from, like steak dinners and mashed potatoes. Like we've used it as a regular kitchen. We're
Mhm.
by no means is it a gourmet chef, but neither are we. So I guess
Yeah.
that, but we definitely are able to do and cook whatever we need.
Yeah, two burners has been more than enough.
Mhm.
So
Oh, cool. Yeah, that's great for people that are worried about that. That I also think it's pretty easy to cook in the van. We cook both inside and outside of it. So yeah, no problem. Cool. So what about like what'd you guys do for internet connectivity, which is also a big question that newbies have?
yeah, that's usually a big one. We carry every
All
carrier.
three of the major carriers.
So we use the phones as hotspots. I have T-Mobile, he has AT&T. And then on top of that, we have a jetpack that is Verizon. So that way we're covered at least in some way.
And we have a Wi-Fi booster.
Yeah.
So
That helps a lot.
we're usually pretty good. I mean, we've been in the middle of nowhere working. And since we are digital nomads, you kind of know days and projects. If you have a meeting or something that is very time sensitive, then we err on the side of caution and we'll stay closer to a city where we know we'll have signal. Otherwise, usually with one of those three, you can do pretty well in most places.
Yep.
That's really cool. So you can and they have fast enough speeds for anything you need to do when you have good enough signal.
Yes. And then one thing that actually I thought that everybody knew, but not most people know. To watch like TV, like Netflix or YouTube, things like that. What we do, we have a cable that we connect
Phone.
from the phone. So that way you're using the internet as if it was in your phone instead of using it as a hotspot, because your hotspot is limited.
Mhm.
I did not know
Both are
that.
usually limited, but you usually get it's a separate bank of
Data.
So you'll get a certain amount for your Wi-Fi and then a certain amount for your phone. Your phone usually has way more than your Wi-Fi does. But we learned the hard way that you will run out of Wi-Fi when you watch a few Netflix movies or anything of that nature.
Yeah, hotspot.
Or a hotspot,
Oh,
yeah.
I see what you guys are saying. So your plan gives you a certain number of gigs to use as a hotspot.
Correct.
So this cable allows you to use it as your phone's data.
Correct.
Wow,
Instead of
that's a great tip. What's that cable called? Do you remember?
It's just a regular USB-C connection cable. And you'll see an adapter. It has the plug that goes into the bottom of your phone as if you were going to charge it. And then it
It has like a box on it.
has like an HDMI input and another cable, and just connect it, very easy. And it mirrors your screen. Your screen is mirrored onto the TV and you're running it that way.
Oh,
It
cool.
has saved us a lot
A
of
lot of data.
data.
Ah, that's a really interesting idea because I've had that concern about getting unlimited data on my phone, but they're like 40 gigs a hotspot, and I'm like, that's not enough.
Yeah, no.
It makes a big difference. Always call and confirm what your data plan and overall plan is. But for the most part, what we've seen with the three carriers is that, yeah, you get more data just using your phone because you can do your Facebook, Instagram, or whatever it may be, but you can do Netflix and things of that nature as well. And it's been very helpful.
Very cool. And then another question that leads into that is working on the road. What do you guys do for a living to support a van life kind of lifestyle?
I run we wear a few different hats. My biggest job is I run a mental health corporation virtually back in Puerto Rico. I was doing it before Maria, and Maria actually forced us to work virtually. We were able to get off the island for a little while, and I was able to do patchwork running the company that way. Light bulb went off, and I said, you know what, I can do this long term. So I was able to do that.
Cool.
And been doing it for now like 6 years.
Since pre-pandemic, I was doing it before it was cool.
Totally.
As of now, I am doing Armix Journey and marketing campaigns with different brands. But before that, I was doing events management. But with the pandemic, I had to adapt because obviously there was no events to be done during the pandemic. So
Very cool. I love hearing all the different ways people make a living on the road because that's people's huge concern. Like people write me every day saying like, how do you do it? And so everyone has such a different story and that there are options out there for people. So it's good for them to know that, I think.
yeah.
Yes.
Cool. Well, yeah. Are there any other tips that we missed? I think we covered a lot of the big bases there. Anything else you can think of that questions you guys get in your Instagram or anything?
I would say one of the things we get asked a lot is how does it feel to travel with pets? We have 2 dogs that we take with us, and they love it. You can make the space what you want. I mean, obviously you're limited, but you'll figure out ways. You will get crafty with space, and if you've never played Tetris or know what it is, you will learn quickly how to move things. But you can travel with pets, and it's very easy. We love having them with us, and they love going with us. And they have their own little section that's multi-purpose areas as well.
I said when you start out, don't try to bring everything with you. Most people overthink it. They, oh my God, I'm gonna need this, I'm gonna need that, I'm gonna need this. And most of the time you don't. I would say just bring what you actually need. And you can always buy things along the way. If you actually do need it at some point, you don't have to carry something for a year or 7 months and just use it once. You can just buy it at that time if you need it.
Yeah.
Along those roads, you reminded me, we have a couple of rules. The 3-month rule, where if you haven't really used something in about 3 months, and sometimes we do even less time, it's this is not needed, we can get rid of it. And then we also have the +1 -1 rule. So if you're bringing something into the van and you guys are limited on space, it's almost always you bring something in and you got to let something go. And so that kind of goes back to the 3-month rule, where you're like, okay, we think we're going to use this and we haven't used this in a long time. This can go.
And for those that do it as a couple, also people get really worried about how you're going to live in such a small space. But at least for us, van life is more about being outside. So we spend a lot of time outside and not all the time inside of the van. So it's not hard. It's not that hard.
And you can still do your own thing. Go on a hike. Somebody can sit inside the van while you're working, while the other person sits outside. As simple as sitting. Sometimes she'll sit in the front or vice versa, and I'll sit in the back, put some headphones on, and you'll be surprised how you can feel your own little space and time to yourself.
That's a really good tip too. And that happens to us all the time because someone will go, my Tom will go out windsurfing and I'll sit and be alone in the van for a few hours. And it's nice because you have all that time together, but you also know to, separate and do your own thing. And I think that's vital and not so hard.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
unless it's raining, then there's nothing you can do. Then you're stuck in the van.
That's true.
But that's a good Netflix night.
Very true. Well, these are all such amazing tips for beginners. I love talking about this with you guys. Where can people find you online and follow your journey and see photos of your rig? You have such a cool rig. So where can people go?
You can find us at Armix Journey. So that's going to be the same handle across all social media. And we've been working on getting the website going. So that's going to be up soon.
Yeah, we're on Instagram is the big one, and that's always the most up to date. We do stuff way behind on our YouTube, but we do have a YouTube. We have the TikTok and Pinterest and stuff, so Facebook. So we're on most of them, but Instagram is definitely our biggest and most up to date.
Cool. And where's your next trip going to take you? Do you know yet?
That
No
goes back to
way.
the planning thing. We know we're going probably north and west, but we haven't picked the location yet.
Yeah.
Totally. I get that. We're like that too. We plan everything kind of the day of. So I totally relate to that. So great. Well, thank you guys so much for coming on and giving us your tips. So many good points. So thank you.
Thank you for
Thank
having
you.